This video is sponsored by OWC. Sony has just released a new set of premium wireless headphones. So naturally, we had to pick them up, they're right here, and put them up against the AirPods Max. Now, before any of you start to run to the comment section and start to call me biased and say, you'll pick Apple over anything, that's just not true, but as there are with any major purchase decision, each scenario is different for every person. These are the new Sony WH-1000XM5s. They are the follow-up to the other pair of really nice Sony headphones with a terrible name, the WH-1000XM4s, which I actually have on this little stand here right behind me. And so we'll check out some of the differences between not only the old set of headphones, but, you know, got to go up against Apple's AirPods Max. Now, for perspective, the XM5s retail for $399. The XM4s are remaining in the lineup for $349. AirPods Max retail at $549, but let's be honest, it's been a few months now that I've actually seen them on sale quite a bit, knocking them down anywhere from $450 to $499. So I'll save you a lot of time here. If you want to know whether buying the cheaper Sony XM5s over the AirPods Max is the right call or not, especially if money is the deciding factor for you, but you just don't want to buy it because it's cheaper, you definitely cannot go wrong. You'll get the most bang for your buck here with the XM5s. That's kind of always been the case, even with the older pair XM4s. They sound great. The ANC is awesome, and both of these features are important, at least in my opinion. And personally, I couldn't tell a huge difference between the two when it comes to the quality of those features. Now, for the rest of you out there who don't necessarily care about the price tag too much, or at least the price differences, but you want to know which one offers you more, well, then keep watching. There are a few things that are worth pointing out that might sway you in one direction or the other. So let's talk about the design this year of the XM5s, because they did get a redesign, and there's one major change that might play a factor for you. And that change is that these headphones don't actually fold up anymore. So, for example, these XM4s can do this, and they fold and go into a smaller case. These ones can actually just do what the AirPods Max can do, where they kind of fold inwards, but they need to be at the full size when heading into your carrying case. They have the same kind of telescopic rod to adjust the headband, just like the AirPods Max do. And again, like I said, the ear cups turn inward so that they can at least lay flat on a table, but also means that you cannot fold them, and you'll have a pretty massive carrying case for the headphones. And that's a pretty big change, again, from the XM4s that featured that folding design for a smaller footprint. I do think this new design looks better, but one of the other things that I've noticed is how incredibly light these headphones are. And it's kind of a real catch-22 here, because it's great that they're so light. They're light on your head. There's less ear and head fatigue when using them for long periods of time, etc., etc. But on the flip side, these things feel so light that it almost comes off as a bit cheap. Like, they almost feel like kids' headphones or fake headphones. I'm sure there are premium materials and everything, and they're really well built, and they should hopefully be durable, but they're not anywhere near the level of quality that you get when you're holding a pair of AirPods Max. Now, a lot of people have dubbed the AirPods Max to be way too heavy, and that's because, I mean, there's aluminum everywhere on this thing. You can just hear that. It's all aluminum on the ear cups and the stainless steel band, or at least that rod. You know, there's a lot of premium heavy materials on this. So when you're spending this kind of money, I personally appreciate all those heavy materials, and I don't really notice it being that big of a difference in comfort. I mean, there is a big difference, but like, if you didn't try these ones, I don't think these are uncomfortable by any means. But like I said, the premium materials are important, but probably not as important as comfort. So I will say the XM5s are probably going to win that whole department there, because it's mostly due to the lightweight design, and they're just really comfortable. But we'll get on comfort in just a minute. Now, the rest of the design is pretty similar to previous models. You have a couple of buttons along the bottom of the ear cup. There's a USB-C port for charging, and then on the sides, you can use like touch and swipe gesture controls to, change your media playback. Also, if we can go back to the charging case for a quick second, while this carrying case is much larger than last year's, it's this giant thing right here, it can cover up my whole head, it's still much better than the bra sleeve thing that Apple went. I still can't believe they chose to use this as the way to protect your $550 pair of headphones. Yeah, I mean, they're easier to carry, I guess. I have no idea. I still don't like this. I'll take the big case any day, even though it is kind of a pain to load this up into your backpack. It is what it is. All right, let's go back to comfort. As I mentioned before, I think both of these headphones, as a standalone, you've only tried one, you didn't try both. They're both very comfortable. You'll be happy with it. If you want to know which one's the most comfortable, Sony's, they're so light. It's definitely because of the weight, so there's a lot less stress on the side of your head, the top of your head. It doesn't put a lot of pressure on the ear cups, so I will say that these are probably the most comfortable headphones I've ever used. The AirPods Max, after periods of time, can start to weigh you down a bit, so I'm going to give the edge to the Sony here. Now, as far as sound quality goes, this area was surprising to me because I definitely think there's a pretty big difference in sound profiles between not only this new XM5s, but the old XM4s. I think there was a huge difference in sound and an improvement in sound quality, depending on what type of music you listen to. I also thought there was a big gap between the Sony XM4s and the AirPods Max, but now I think Sony has closed that gap. I think they sound relatively the same, and that's a lot to do with the profiles and everything. But again, that's going to be a bummer depending on the type of music you listen to. If you enjoy a lot of bass, I'd maybe look at the XM4s. They have much lower mid and low frequencies than either one of these other headphones. The other two pairs, the XM5s and the AirPods Max, definitely have a cleaner, crispier sound profile in comparison. There's a lot more depth, it's more natural, there's more clarity amongst each individual instrument. You can really pick apart kind of what the song and producers were going for when engineering. And so, you know, the muddying frequencies of the low end, it's just not happening with these, and it is with the XM4s. But if you like that, then you might want to go that way. But I think both of these sound really good, and it's hard to tell if there's a huge difference between the two in terms of sound quality. And this also carries over to transparency and active noise cancellation modes. I do think I prefer transparency on the AirPods Max. I can be a little bit more definitive with that. I don't really know what it is. It just seems easier to hear things when I need to hear it and when I have it engaged. But in terms of ANC, these are two both neck and neck. I really can't tell a difference, honestly. They're basically 1A, 1B. Sony uses a special chip for this sort of processing, so does Apple, but the difference this year is that Sony actually put two of those chips inside to help with ANC, and it really did boost up not only, you know, kind of that sound from when you have a loud humming noise. Like for me, it's the roof here of my building. I can hear all of the 30 different AC units that are going at one time, and it sounds like I'm next to a jet engine, so it's really loud. So I can kind of compare that to like being on a plane, but also just loud city environment, or when you're in a coffee shop and people are talking. It's both of these are really just neck and neck with that kind of active noise cancellation. So now we have to move on to bonus features and battery life and kind of see which one's better here. When it comes to battery life, I'll be quick because it's really 30 hours for the XM5s and 20 hours for the AirPods Max. And I think the AirPods Max battery life is kind of terrible sometimes. And so, yeah, I'm going to go with the Sony XM5s here. They're better with battery life. There's not a lot of battery drain, especially when you have it off and it's laying on, you know, flat on the table and it's supposed to be in ultra low power mode. I think the standby time is much better with the XM5s. In terms of the extra features, I think the main appeal for me with the AirPods Max is obviously ecosystem integration and the spatial audio functionality. If money difference, again, isn't a big deal and you use primarily all Apple products, by all means, please get the AirPods Max. I think they sound great. They have great ANC. Battery life, yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, but they just work so well with your workflow and all of the integrations that it's just really hard for me to advise against that. But I do think the XM5s offer more functionality for the everyday listener and consumer. Like inside of the app, there's some great customization options, like being able to mess around with the EQ and change the audio profile. You can customize playback gestures to how you like it, adjust ANC and transparency modes, and so much more. You can't do that with the AirPods Max. Overall, I think they're both, obviously, if you haven't picked up by now, fantastic headphones. If saving money is your goal, then you just go with the cheaper price tag. And that doesn't even mean going with the XM5s, but maybe even the XM4s, because these have been kind of the staple headphones that I've been recommending to the average person who doesn't care about what products they're using and ecosystem and all that. And so these are still a good option, and they remain at $50 cheaper than the XM5s. But for me, if workflow is important, if integration's important, if you're an Apple person, then yeah, it obviously makes sense to spend that a little bit extra money if you can do that. even though battery life isn't the best. I still give the Sonys my nod of approval. These are definitely worthy upgrades. The biggest difference that kind of stinks is the fact that they don't fold up. I personally don't care as much because I don't travel with these as much as I would want to, and I traveled with these, so it doesn't even make that big of a difference for me. But I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Which headphones do you prefer? Are you thinking about any of these? Please let me know in those comments. Now, before we end today's video, I do want to give you more information about today's sponsor, OWC. OWC just released its latest drive, the Envoy Pro Mini. And this thing is wild. It's basically the performance of a full-size SSD in a tiny flash drive form factor. It's plug and play across all devices that support USB Type A or C, perfect for transferring audio, video, photos, games, you name it, all from device to device. It can work with Apple's Time Machine, and it's also ideal for those who want to expand storage on their gaming consoles like PS5 or Xbox Series X. I just love how small and compact this drive is. It's definitely all the perks of a flash drive, but with the performance of a full-size SSD. And so for more information about the Envoy Pro Mini or any other product that OWC has to offer, visit the link in the description down below. This has been Dan with Mac Rumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you around in the next video.